Hey everyone, this is Max from Unsubscribed Healthcare, and I wanted to go over the trouble with leading zeros. And what do I mean by leading zeros? That's when a number or an NPI, a zip code, anything like that has a zero that it starts with. Excel and anything else doesn't like to recognize it as being a thing. There's a couple of ways around this. Right here in this cell, I've formatted it so that it has a zero up here at the front. But the problem is when you go to have a other cell read that cell information, it only comes up as without a zero, right? So if I just do format number and I come down here, since it's an NPI, it has 10 numerical values or a 10-digit value. And so in this, I've added 10 zeros so that it will fill in any blanks with a zero. So you can see it fills in that first number with a zero because it's missing that zero at the front there. But when we click on it, you can see the value still doesn't have that zero. If you look here in cell B1, I'm creating a serial number or something that's unique for the programming that I've written to search. And so you can see it says C1 and E2. Even though it has a zero here, it reads without a zero. So you see Matthew Smith, and then it's 987, and it goes right into it. So what I had to do is I had to write a little formula that adds a zero into it so that it will match these down here. Okay, and so that was the first problem, right? The other problem is that when you have a query, so I'm having this formula over to the side here, and I'm having it look through A10, so right here, all the way to I, okay? And then in that area, I want it to select column D, which is the NPI, where C contains C2, okay? And so it's telling it to search for anything that contains Matthew Smith and populate it. So that's what it's doing. But again, you can see the problem is that it is missing that zero in the front. So what we had to do here was, again, we had to write a little formula, right? And so you can see that it takes all of these numbers and adds a zero to the front if it needs it. And the way that it does that is it looks from the right to the left, and then it adds in 10 zeros, and it searches the column J, and anything that doesn't have 10 in values, it's going to add that zero to it. And so that's what you're seeing. Now, if you want to get really complicated, you can actually combine both of these formulas into one. So that's what I did in this cell here, just to show you guys that you can make these as complicated as you want. But I generally don't like having one cell that's relying on another, just in case like something like this happens where you could delete it by accident. It's going to mess up everything else. So I like to make it independent. So here you can see I've used the array formula, which is what we were using in cell K anyway. But what I'm having it do is I'm having it do the query function instead. And so as it pulls the query function forward, if that query function doesn't have 10 in value, it's going to do all of the stuff that we had combined in these two columns, J and K. It's a bit complicated. I like it better that way. And then that's what I have being searched here. But again, you see how it didn't really matter because that zero doesn't carry forward even when we need it to. So you still have to use that formula again in order for it to get correctly. But doing that allows the program to work. So now I can click on the one I want and click search, and it will pull the correct person forward. As you can see, NPI is changing. Okay. And that's how I get serial numbers and everything else to work. I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments below.